Hi everybody, welcome to another yin practice. Today's practice, we are talking about stress and ways to deal with stress. So the intention behind today's practice is to have a greater ability to deal with moments of stress or even an overlying essence of stress in our life. So we're going to begin with a nice easy pose today. So whether it's a cross-legged easy sitting pose for you, or maybe you prefer the legs out in front and relax, maybe that's better for you, or even sitting on the heels. Some people prefer that to settle in. If the knees are bugging you, you can always use blocks or a pillow or a towel between to take the pressure off the knees. So whatever variation is your easy sitting pose to begin a couple moments of opening meditation, whatever works best for you. So find a comfortable spot for those hands to relax, whether they're on the legs or alongside. You can close the eyes and just allowing yourself to go inward and just making space for yourself to let go of the to-do list, and just giving yourself permission to be here on your mat in this moment. And just allowing the breath to settle down, allow it to smooth out, allow those rigid edges to soften, and allowing your body to soften, and allowing the mind to soften. So it's not that the mind is still gonna have thoughts, it's still gonna wander off, but just setting the stage and giving the mind and the body an opportunity to really embrace the moment. So just reminding yourself to soften through the face and the jaw, to relax the shoulders, to sit up straight where the spine is straight, but you can relax through the belly. And you can keep the eyes closed, and we're just going to do a little bit of breath work here just to really remind ourselves of the power of our breath and how it can support our mental and physical health. So we're going to do a 4-count inhale, a 3-count pause, and then a 5-count exhale, both in through the nose and exhaling through the nose. So we're just going to begin. We'll take a full round of breath just to set the stage here. So take a nice inhale through the nose and a nice exhale. And then we shall begin taking a nice inhale for the count of 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale, 2, 3, 4, sorry, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, last round, inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just allowing your breath to come back to a natural rhythm. Maybe you need to take a bigger inhale and a bigger exhale, or maybe a smaller inhale and exhale, just to bring that balance back to that natural flow, that natural rhythm. And just notice the essence or the sensation that you may feel in your physical body, your energy body. Notice how the mind feels, hopefully a little bit softer. Maybe a little bit more space has been created in the mind and the body. And the real benefits of just taking even a short minute to really connect with yourself, connect with your breath, and notice the power of the tool of your breath to soften, to let go of stress, to really bring yourself into the moment. And this can be done anywhere. It could be done driving in your car. It could be done dealing with a heavy workload, whatever it is. Maybe it's a pause before you react to any children. Whatever it is, it's in you, and it's probably the most powerful tool we have. So when you're ready, just slowly open your eyes and arriving. We're going to begin today in a nice child's pose. So we're going to come sideways on our mat. We're going to connect our big toes. We're going to bring our knees nice and wide, so the width of the mat. And we're going to bring our seat back towards our heels. If that doesn't work for your knees, if you have knee injuries, you can use blocks. Again, you place them underneath your seat, and that'll take the pressure off the knees, and you can come down just onto the elbows, or if it works, to the forehead, but onto the elbows will certainly keep the pressure off the knees. Or if you have a towel or a blanket, you can put it underneath the seat, or you can place it between the back of the thighs and the calves as well. That will work to take the pressure off. So we're sitting back towards the heels, and just bring yourselves down towards our mat, bring your forehead either onto the mat or a blanket, pillow, block if you need that space. The arms can come out in front of you. The closer the hands are together, the tighter it will be for the shoulders, the deeper the stretch there. So if you have really tight shoulders, you can always open up the hands a little bit wider, or you can even bring the hands alongside, or a nice option is to tuck the arms underneath and fully release and let go through the shoulders. So whatever variation is calling to you, just doing your best to settle in and find that sweet spot where nothing seems to be poking or pressing too much. And you can close the eyes and just allow your body to soften here in this new pose, reminding yourself to let go through the belly and just allow the belly to hang off the body like a hammock would. Reminding yourself to soften the face and the jaw, soften the shoulders, relaxing your arms and your fingers. And just pay attention to not only the breath, but maybe the sensations in your body. Noticing maybe yourself sinking a little bit lower towards the mat. Maybe your chest and your belly are coming a little bit lower as we sit here. And then just enjoying the pose for what it is. Child's pose is a wonderful pose to calm the mind, to let go of anxiety and stress. But it's also a great stretch. It's a great stretch for our hips, for our groin, our knee joint, our ankles, as well as the spine. You may feel a little bit into the shoulders as well. Getting a nice little release there. And just really allow the pose just to be. When you notice the mind drifting off, just bring it back. When you notice that, that's the awareness. That's the space that we want to be. That's the space we want to elongate. Just the awareness, not the thought. But never get frustrated. Never judge whether the mind is going crazy or not. Just doing your best to support the environment for letting go and softening. And just enjoy this present moment. And just playing that edge as you come down. Maybe you're finding some release and that edge is moving. And you can go a little bit deeper, soften closer to the mat. Playing that edge, that's the first principle of 3 principles of Yin Yoga. So we are always looking for our edge. And what I mean by our edge is just sort of that spot where you're feeling something, but it's not overwhelming. There's no pain. There could be discomfort, and that's completely normal. But there's no pain, there's no sharpness, there's no one little pin spot that you feel completely vulnerable, like there's something going wrong. So we're just playing outside our comfort zone with that edge. Trying to find that spot where our body can let go and soften and really get the true full benefits out of the pose. I often call it the Goldilocks effect. So not too much and not too little. We're just here for another 3 rounds of breath. Just doing your best to really go deeply into the pose and just enjoy whatever it is that is arising for you, whether it's sensations in the hips or the knees or the ankles. Even if it's a form of discomfort, just be with that. Just allow that to be okay for you. And then when you're ready, we're just going to slowly bring ourselves out of this pose. You're going to feel quite vulnerable through the hips, maybe the knees. So just really take your time. I'm going to bring my hands back. I'm going to bring my weight forward over my knees as I find my way into a tabletop position. I'm going to find a little scary cat for a little rebound. So I'm going to arch that spine up to the sky and just find a little bit of a rebound here. And then just coming back to a neutral tabletop position here. From neutral tabletop, we're going to do a quick little, what I call robot tabletop. So robot tabletop, we're going to drop our shoulder blades down our spine first. So first I'm going to pull sort of my shoulders away from the ears, the shoulder blades moving down the spine first. Then I'm going to begin to squeeze. So I'm pressing my shoulders towards each other on the back and squeezing those shoulder blades together. This is quite intense. We're only going to be here for 1 minute here, but it is a fabulous release for the upper back. So I pulled the shoulder blades down the back first, then I'm squeezing, then I'm going to bow my head down and find a full stretch here. So I'm still really intensely squeezing, and we're only here for about another 30 seconds, so just bear with it here because the release is worth sort of this intensity that's happening here. So just squeezing for another 3 rounds of breath. Releasing. Oh, I think we have a visitor here. Hi, Andy. Yes, I think she wants to do yoga with us. Thank you. And then we're just gonna slowly release that. I'm gonna come back up to that scary cat position. So I'm arching the back, reaching up towards the sky, and then settling back in. And then from here, Indy, you're gonna have to move off of my mat here. Come on up. Woo! Out of the way. You do your yoga over there. I'm gonna take my blocks here, and if you don't have blocks, that's okay. I'm gonna show you a variation here of melting heart pose. So I'm gonna be in that tabletop position. I'm gonna try to keep that shoulder, or those hips over my knees as I come down. I'm gonna bring my elbows to begin onto the blocks. And then I'm just gonna walk those elbows forward and bringing the backs of the forearms onto those blocks. I have space between my blocks so that I can bow my forehead down towards the mat and rest it on my mat. Two things, if this is too intense of a heart melting pose for you, remove the blocks. Or if you don't have the blocks, we can certainly do this pose without the blocks. Elbows come down, I walk them forward, still trying to keep my seat over my knees. And I bring that forehead to my mat and find that same variation without the blocks. If the elbow variation is too intense, then you're just going to come down onto the backs of the forearms and bring the forehead either to the mat, or you can use a block to place your forehead on, and that will ease up some of the intensity. If still this feels like a lot for you, the shorter the stance is between the elbows, the arms, and the knees, the less intense it will be. The more stretched out you are, the deeper that chest is coming towards the mat, the more intensity you're gonna feel on those shoulders, okay? As well, remembering just like in the child's pose, the closer the hands are together, the more intense it is on the shoulders. The wider the hands are, the gentler it is on the shoulders. So just finding your variation of melting heart pose here. A fabulous stretch for the upper back and for the shoulders. It can be certainly intense, it can be uncomfortable, but remembering just to be with that discomfort, knowing that's okay. Life can be very uncomfortable. It's the practice of being okay to be stable and steady through the discomfort of life. That's what we work at. So just riding that edge for you and where you need to be today. And it changes daily. You know, you might be dealing with an injury in the shoulder, or you might have done a very intense weight workout the day before. So every day these stretches will feel different, and we're going to find different variations that work best for us. And the key is never to feel like you have to be perfect in a yin pose. It's not the case at all. You never have to look like I look like it or anybody else does. We're all just trying to find a stretch that works for us in that medium zone. Always remembering to never compare yourself to anybody else. Comparison is the thief of joy. So just being with what is best for you, what feels right for you, and really oozing into that sensation. So as you move through, you might feel like maybe the chest just wants to naturally sink deeper towards the mat, and just allow that to happen. Just riding that edge, that first principle of yin yoga. And then settling into the second principle of yin yoga, that's stillness. And it's looking for stillness just to be present. And it's always okay to move if the edge is moved and you want to go a little bit deeper and allow that chest to melt deeper into the mat. It's always okay too if it becomes way too intense for you. And the first sign that you're too deep is often our breath. So if your breath is not smooth and gentle, it feels sort of rigid and sort of
has all these bumpy sides to it and it's sort of choppy, that's the first sign that you've gone too deep and you need to back up. You need to bring those elbows and those knees closer together. So just listening to your body as we move through and just honoring what you need. And knowing that the real yoga is happening on the inside. It has nothing to do with what we look like on the outside. We're here for 3 more rounds of breath, if that serves you. Just letting go and settling in. And then in your own time, I'm going to bring those hands back first. I'm going to feel like, whoa, some intensity there for me. I'm going to feel probably 20 years older. Oh, that's completely normal. I did do arms yesterday. So just making your way back into a tabletop position. We're going to find that scary cat pose again just to counter. So those hands are directly under the shoulders. That way we're stacking our joints and just protecting the joints. So as we exhale, we're going to find that big arch with the spine and just reach up, press away from the floor. You can even bring that seat back towards the heels and really get a full spinal stretch there as well. Still arching through the back. We'll take 3 rounds of breath here. Just allowing a nice counter to that heart melting pose. Nice job. And then coming back to that tabletop position. And we're going to just turn ourselves sideways or face forward, I guess, on our mat for our next pose here. So we're going to come into a 90-90 pose or deer pose. So I'm going to bring that right shin parallel to the side of my mat here. And I'm going to rotate that left shin parallel with the bottom of my mat. Now, if this is really intense to have this true 90-90 shape with the legs, you can always tuck the feet in a little bit tighter and maybe that feels a little bit more comfortable for you, and that's okay, knowing there's no right or wrong. We're not all gonna look the same in the pose. We're trying to come into the hips here, so whatever works for you, where you start to feel a little juice into primarily the left, maybe you're feeling it into the quad a little bit as well, and that's okay. We're going to begin with a little spinal twist as we sit up here. So just coming in with a nice long inhale, just to elongate through the body. And as we exhale, we're just going to find this nice gentle twist. So I'm going to bring that left hand to the outside of the right knee. The right hand's going to come behind me, but I'm still staying nice and long here. And on the exhales, as you sit into this twist, is where you want to deepen the twist if that serves you. So inhale to elongate through the core, exhale to deepen the twist if necessary. I'm not collapsing into that backhand, I'm pressing away from the back floor there. So I'm staying nice and tall. I'm not worrying about how deep my twist is. What I'm worrying about is the sensations that are happening in my body. I'm noticing, I'm connecting, I'm feeling it, so that I can listen and need to know whether it feels good to go deeper, or maybe it feels good just to stay where I'm at and enjoy the release, enjoying the nice twist for the spine, a nice twist for the abdominal organs, great for digestion, and of course, great for the spine. We'll take 3 more rounds of breath here, either staying still or deepening as you go. 1 more round of breath. And then I'm going to slowly bring my head back first, and then my whole self.
Nice job. Staying in this 90-90. If you needed to make any adjustments, if it's becoming a little bit too much for you, you can always tuck those feet in closer, okay? Otherwise, I'm staying with this nice parallel where my shin is parallel to the side of my mat here, my long side of my mat, and my left shin is parallel to the bottom of my mat here. Again, taking a nice inhale this time, let's raise our arms overhead for that inhale. And as we exhale, we're gonna bring ourselves forward, but I'm paying attention to keep the weight back in my hips. So I sort of shimmy my body and encourage that weight to stay back in the hips and not come forward into that front knee, okay? So you may come down, maybe you stay on the palms and that feels like it's enough for you. Maybe you need a little bit deeper and you can bring the elbows onto a block. Or maybe it feels better to bring the elbows down onto the floor here. Another little tip here to go a little bit deeper would be to walk yourself towards that right foot. The closer you get to that right foot, the more intense you're gonna feel it on that right hip. If you need to back off, you bring yourself towards that right knee, lessening that intensity on the right hip. So wherever you need to be, you can also, I like my forehead on a block in this pose. You can always place your forehead onto a block and just find some support for the head. When your body, especially your bones, feel supported, it puts the sensation, it puts that feeling of security and safeness throughout the body, and then the body can let go a little bit more because it feels secure, safe, stable. So the less that you can sort of grip and grind and hold on to these poses, the more you can soften and let go, the more beneficial the stretches, the poses become for you. It makes that space for stretching, for letting go through what makes up your joints, so your ligaments, your tendons as well. You'll feel it deep into your fascia and your connective tissue, that webbing that surrounds us, that holds us together. And it often gets dried out, it often gets kinks in it. So by putting pressure on that tissue, it allows it to, the cells to wake up, the cells to lubricate through the fascia. It allows those kinks to be released. And so as we come out of a deep stretch, it allows that connective tissue to realign itself, to find a better position, a position that has more opening, more lubrication, and more stability. And that's sort of the underlying of what we're trying to do in yin yoga. We're trying to increase stability, flexibility throughout our body, and that comes in the soft tissues of our body. That comes from stretching out all the things I just said, the ligaments, the tendons, the fascia, connective tissue. And it's not to say that the muscles won't get a stretch. They do. They're the dominant tissue, and they will take the stretch originally. They will take it first. And as we hold for time, then that stretch also goes into those softer tissues. And that's why we do hold in poses for sort of a minimum of 90 seconds. That's sort of that magic number, 90 seconds is when we trigger into those soft tissues, the deeper tissues of the body. So holding for 3, 5, even 8 minutes can have these deep impacts on our body. So we'll just hold here for another 3 rounds of breath. Again, maybe your edges moved, maybe you want to come lower with the forehead, maybe that feels better. Or maybe moving towards that right foot feels a little bit better. But knowing it's always okay too to back off. If it felt too much, you just ease up on it. Remembering to stay in that Goldilocks effect.
Not too much, not too little, just right. Then when you're ready, we're just gonna slowly bring ourselves back up. Just taking our time. We're going to bring our hands behind us so we make space to release that back leg. It may feel a little stiff, and that's okay. I'm gonna open up those legs wide for a moment and just have a little rebound, a little bit of movement, maybe a nice chest stretch. Nice. So between our sides of our 90-90, we're gonna come into a wide-legged seated stretch here. So I'm gonna have a block handy because I like to use a block in this one. But just opening up our legs to where we're feeling something. I'm starting to feel a little bit in the inner legs here, but it's not overwhelming at this point. If sitting up tall like this in a wide legged is hard for you, you can always hang off either a cushion, a block, a blanket, and that will tilt the pelvis forward and give you that space. So if you're someone with very tight hips, that often is an issue for you. So by coming up and sitting up, it gives you that space through the groin and the pelvis. So whichever version suits you better, on the ground or on a block, just enjoying this nice sensation that's happening in the inner legs here. We're going to start with a nice stretch for our wrists while we sit up in this wide-legged. So we're gonna take the palms of our hands and place them down on our mat with our fingers towards us. And then you may feel like having them close feels okay, or maybe feel like you need to walk them out a little bit more and get a deeper stretch into the back of the wrists. An area that we don't often stretch, but our wrists can take so much work, whether you do a lot of yoga, especially power, flow yoga. The wrist can take a real beating in that. Or if you're someone that works on a computer and you're always like this, so to stretch the inside of the wrist is really beneficial to you. So just walking those hands out from you to where it feels right for you. Don't worry if the ends of the palms sort of stick up or whether they're fully down. It's just really about feeling that stretch on the inside of the wrists. So just again, finding that sweet spot that works for you, allowing the body to settle in and to relax and soften, and just enjoying about a minute or so here as we stretch through the front of the wrists, just releasing some tension, some stress from that area. So my legs, my feet are nice and soft, my belly is soft. I'm encouraging my face to soften, my shoulders to wash away from the ears. And you can always close the eyes, you can always bow the head if that feels nice, and get a nice stretch for the back of the neck there, the top of the cervical spine. That's another great option here in this pose. And just always trying to find that sweet spot again as we transition from one pose to another. So just trying to find that essence of surrender, settling in, and just letting go. So we're just here for another 3 rounds of breath. And just know that we are taking care not only of our physical self, but our mental self here. So if we come back to the intention of the practice of releasing stress, when we talk mentally, emotionally, a great tool is just knowing that your emotional and your mental state is completely separate from whatever's happening around you. So we'll just slowly release those wrists and just give a moment to enjoy the sensations. Maybe you need to wiggle the fingers a little bit or rotate the wrists. Just get some blood back into those hands and fingers. Nice. Then from here, we're coming into a nice forward fold here. So I like to use a block for myself if that feels right, a block or a blanket or a pillow. And as I come down, I'm just gonna lead with that heart to begin with, so I get a nice elongation happening out of the hips here. I'm gonna bring those backs of my elbows onto that block. Once I find that sweet spot, I'm going to bow my head forward, allow that chin to come to chest, and again, settle into this variation and just let go and soften. And really know that you're completely taking care of yourself here. You're allowing the cells to become stronger. You're allowing the body to heal as we move through this practice. And again, coming back to that stress talk, so just having the awareness that you are separate from your stress, that you can support, you can control your mental and emotional health, and know that it is separate from whatever stress is happening around you, whether it's work, whether it's in the home, whether it's now, unfortunately, global stress that we're feeling in the news, the 24-hour breaking news that comes into our home. Just having that awareness that you are separate from that, and that who you are on the inside is not stress, and that you can bring yourself back to the present moment, back to the sensations that you're feeling here, the softening, the letting go, and just knowing that's not only another tool for you, but it can be an overall awareness for you, knowing that you don't need to get caught up in the stress. And it's not to say that we're not going to have stress. We know that we currently, with the coronavirus, don't know how long it's going to last, and that can be stressful, not knowing. But what we can control is how it affects us, and we can control by putting it down. So yes, stay informed. Yes, listen to the advice from our governments, but at the same time, knowing when we need to put it down. So if you could think about stress is like a bottle of water, and you're holding on to that bottle of water, and you're holding it, and minutes go by, an hour goes by, a couple more hours goes by, and you're still holding that bottle all day. That bottle's going to get really heavy. But if you put that bottle down, even for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then you pick that bottle of water back up, it's going to feel a lot lighter. So it's the same philosophy that yes, we're always going to have stress in our life, but the more moments, the more time you can for yourself to put down that stress, the more capable you are to pick it back up. The lighter it will feel for you, the more you are able to deal with it, both on a mental, emotional, and physical being. And ways that we can do that, ways like we're doing right now, yin yoga is a great way to put down your stress and be in the moment. Meditation is a life-changing tool that you can do for yourself, and it can come in all sorts of different forms. It doesn't necessarily have to be sitting in silence. Some that works wonderful, and others like walking through nature or the forest. That's meditative for them. Others maybe just sitting in their backyard or looking up at the sky. These are all forms of meditation. Meditation is practicing being in the present moment and trying to connect with your inner self, the person who you are, going beyond or before your thoughts. So we often think we're the replay that we play in our head, but we're not our thoughts. Our deeper, our energy field, whatever you want to call it, your quantum field or your soul or your spirit, the essence of who you are is before those thoughts. And so the more time you can take for stillness and notice and understand and have the experience of experiencing that awareness before the thoughts, the deeper you can connect to yourself and the stronger you can be to live in this external world. So we'll take 3 more rounds of breath here, just allowing all those thoughts to settle in and take what you need today. And knowing that there's no need to compare yourself to anybody else. we always just do the best. And sometimes that can be challenging some days, and that's okay. So we're gonna slowly release from this nice seated wide-legged fold, just slowly walking our palms back up, removing any blocks out of the way. And we're gonna come into that other side of 90-90. So I'm just gonna drag that left shin to be parallel to the edge of my mat. And I'm going to turn my other right knee at the 90 with that right shin parallel to the end of my mat. Again, if this is a little bit too intense for you, you can bring those feet in closer and that will take the intensity away from the hips, okay? So whichever version you're in, we're gonna start with that nice twist. So I'm gonna bring the right hand to the outside of the left knee and my left hand behind me. I'm gonna take a nice inhale so I can really elongate through my core, especially through my spine, making space between all my vertebrae. And then as I exhale, I'm gonna find my version of a twist. It can feel quite different on either side. We work both sides of our body very differently. So we react to our stretches very differently on either side. And no need to judge that. Just be with that awareness of that, the understanding of your physical body, and just taking that knowledge. So again, remembering on the inhale is when we elongate through the core and the spine, and as we exhale, if you need to deepen that stretch in any manner, that's when you do it on the exhale. Doing your best to keep those shoulders away from the ears, just allow them to slide down towards the floor, pushing away from the backhand opposed to collapsing into that backhand. And just again, follow your breath, using the breath as an anchor, as a tool to keep you present, to keep you anchored in the pose. We'll just take 5 more rounds of breath here. Just riding your wave of your breath and letting go and softening, knowing that we'll make space through our core and through our spine. 2 more rounds of breath here. And then just slowly bring your head back and then your whole self. Nice job. So just leaning back so that you can make space to bring that right leg forward, just to release. Bring your hands behind you. You can wiggle the feet a little bit from side to side. You can even maybe do some windshield wipers, might feel nice. From side to side. Maybe even just a little reverse tabletop might feel nice. Whichever version of a rebound feels good for you. We're gonna come into our final pose before our Savasana. So our final pose is going to be a supported fish. So if you have blocks, great. If you don't, then your blanket or your towel. And what you'll do is you're gonna come, I'll go this way for you. We're gonna come to lie back on our blocks. So I'm gonna take my block, and it could be on either setting. So it could be flat with this side against your mat, or it could be with the skinny side. If it's the skinny side, it's gonna be more of a deeper chest opener. And if it's on the flat, it'll be gentler for you, okay? So you're gonna put that block behind you, and the goal is to place it between the shoulder blades and no higher than the shoulders as it comes up, okay? So I'm gonna lie back. I'm gonna find that sweet spot. I'm gonna take my other block or pillow with me. I'm gonna have that block between the shoulder blades and no higher than the shoulders. I'm gonna take that second